Director, who has been helping with the logistics this morning. I want to welcome all of you to what I know will be a phenomenal day. This gathering is Ella Baker for the 21st century, and it is in honor of the 20th anniversary of the publication of Ella Baker and the Black Radical Tradition by Barbara Ransby. I first want to do some housekeeping. A lot of people participated in making this day happen. I first want to shout out my co-planners, Sarah Haley from the Institute for the Study of Sexuality and Gender at Columbia and the History Department as well, and Jafari Allen at the Institute for Research in African American Studies. So thank you very much for your help. I also have a huge thank you to the BCRW staff, Hope Dector, Olivia Cummings, Pam Phillips, Sandra Moyana Arisa, Sophie Kreetzberg, and Kelsey Kitsky. And if everything runs smoothly today, which I know it will, it is because they have thought about every single detail. So thank you so much for all your work. Also, Mia Silva at the University of Illinois, Chicago. Barnard Facilities, all the invisible labor, the people who help set up and who will help clean up when we are done. All our volunteers, RAs and students, Body Language Productions for ASL, yay. AV Services, and Word Up Community Bookstore that is making available the books for our speakers outside. I encourage you to take a look at those. We have a number of co-sponsors today as well, the Africana Studies Department at Barnard College, the Women, Gender, and Sexuality Studies Department at Barnard, the Center for American Studies at Columbia, the Department of History at Columbia, the Institute for Research in African American Studies at Columbia, and the Institute for the Study of Sexuality and Gender at Columbia, as well as the Marguerite Casey Foundation. They have all made this day possible. So before we officially begin our program, I want to acknowledge the land on which this campus was built. It's part of the Lenape-Hoking, the traditional and unceded territory of the Lenape people of the Delaware Nation. The Lenape were displaced from their homelands to places as far as Oklahoma, Wisconsin, and Ontario, Canada. We pay respect to Indigenous peoples past, present, and future, and uplift their continuing presence on their homelands. We also acknowledge the legacy of forced displacement, enslavement, and genocide of African people from their homelands. We understand that our existence on this campus, using the resources of this institution, has been enabled by a history of both land and labor extraction. We also have some upcoming events. On March 23rd, BCRW is going to hold its annual Scholar and Feminist Conference on transnational Black feminisms that I'm co-organizing with Dr. Tammy Navarro. And that'll be here in this room. And on April 6th, we're going to have a symposium on care and social reproduction. So look out for information about that. So this is a really amazing gathering of people. Many of you have come from quite far away. I also want to welcome everybody who's out there joining us virtually who couldn't be with us here in person. And I am especially sorry to say there are 3 people who couldn't be here today because of illness or other issues: Asha Ransby-Sporn, Lena O'Day, and Barbara Smith. But we are deeply grateful for all of you, even those who are joining virtually, to make the time and the space to talk about Ella Baker and what her radical legacy means for the 21st century. It's been 20 years since the publication of Ransby's award-winning book, Ella Baker and the Black Freedom Movement, A Radical Democratic Vision. Ella Baker was one of the most important Black activists of the 20th century. If she was once an unsung heroine, that is no more the case. Since the publication of this book, there are many people who sing her praises. And I'm actually going to quote from Barbara's introduction, because you all know that Barbara is a very eloquent writer. And Barbara writes, Ella Baker was a skilled grassroots organizer and an organic intellectual, one who learned lessons from the street more than from the academy, and who sought to understand the world in order to change it. Many other activists looked to her, especially during the last half of her life, for her strategic and analytical insights and guidance. Her radical, democratic, humanistic worldview, her confidence in the wisdom of the Black poor, and her emphasis on the importance of group-centered leadership set her apart from most of her political contemporaries. Ella Baker's political philosophy was democratic, inclusive, and transformative, and her political investments extended to many corners of the globe. As Barbara demonstrates so beautifully, Ella Baker reshaped the political landscape with her activism over the course of a half-century. This biography is a model of Black feminist scholarship, a path-breaking book that has been embraced not only by historians, but by activists and organizers around the country. It has served as a model for community members, budding activists, and labor organizers. Through her research, Barbara effectively redefines the Black radical tradition of the 20th century. She created a respected place for biography in the lens of in the historical profession, enabling us to analyze a movement through the lens of a life and a life through the lens of a movement. The book, however, was not only an academic project. It is a book born out of struggle and Barbara's own Black radical organizing. Ella Baker's teachings inspired Barbara, and Barbara taught and mentored a whole generation, actually it might be more than a generation now, of activists and scholars, including her daughter Asha, who is an organizer and political leader in her own right. Many people in this room have worked with Barbara, joined the various organizations she has created, signed the dozens of petitions she has written. How many have done something with Barbara politically? Attended the gatherings she has convened. And some of us organized alongside her in the anti-apartheid and anti-racist movements in the 1980s when she was immersed in writing this biography. We were all getting to know one another, and Barbara was getting to know Ella. Although I had read about the civil rights movement, I hadn't heard of Ella Baker until I met Barbara. Ella Baker felt very present in our organizing. As 20-year-olds, we could quote her. And when we had strategy meetings, it sometimes felt that Ella was with us, being channeled through Barbara. We even had a singing group named in her honor. Learning the lessons of Ella Baker and how to bridge scholarship and activism had a huge impact on me personally and professionally. And I think the same is true for many people who are joining us today. Our conference is titled Ella Baker for the 21st Century. And the goal is to think about the significance of Ella Baker's radical legacy for this political moment. We are living in uncertain times. Teaching Black history is under attack. Library books about trans and gender nonconforming people are being burned. The climate crisis is intensifying every month. And the expansion of right-wing authoritarian movements and white supremacist organizing continues apace. And of course, there is a devastating crisis in the Middle East and the relentless assault on Gaza that can only be described as a genocide. And alongside that is a systematic targeting of Palestinians around the world, including a shooting of 3 students in Vermont, the murder of a 6-year-old in Chicago, and the harassment, hostility, and intimidations of students and faculty and staff right here at Columbia University. These are not discrete, but interconnected struggles. There are mutual interests and systems of profit and privilege that connect structural racism in the US and the treatment of Palestinians in the Middle East. The history of colonization and places that are bearing the brunt of the history of colonization and the places that are bearing the brunt of the climate crisis. Questions of poverty here and US militarization abroad. As academics, scholars, and researchers, it is our job to grapple with ideas of justice and power, rights and morality, and to create opportunities for discussion and debate. Yet at this moment, here at Barnard and Columbia and on campuses around the country, we find that our very ability to write, teach, and speak has been curtailed. Faculty and staff and students are terrified to speak out, sign statements calling for a ceasefire, wear keffiyehs, and have been told that they cannot utter or display the phrase "from the river to the sea." Events have been canceled by the administration, even virtual events that pose no threat of disruption, apart from the possible disruption of the donor stream. Even as millions of people protest around the world, our administration has chosen to shut down debate, to use procedural changes as a tool to silence people, to bring the NYPD to campus, and to weaponize protections against discrimination and unfair treatment, particularly anti-Semitism, to intimidate students and faculty, including Jewish students and faculty who are taking dissenting positions. The stakes are high. This, at its core, is about the Palestinians' right to live in peace and freedom, but it has also become about our right to free expression and the safety of people who choose to speak out, especially the safety of our students. Barnard and Columbia students have been spearheading the struggle to show solidarity to Palestinians and the fight for the right to peaceful protest. They refuse to back down in the face of an administration crackdown, have been relentless in their pursuit of a ceasefire and an end to the occupation. When Students for Justice in Palestine and Jewish Voice for Peace were suspended, a whole group of other student organizations formed a coalition, CU Apartheid Divest, and faculty and staff organized a walkout and formed a chapter, Faculty and Staff for Justice in Palestine. CU Apartheid Divest has called for a speaker boycott of Columbia and Barnard until SJP and JVP are reinstated. I do want to let you know that this event has been sanctioned by them. We got their permission, so we are not violating that boycott. Ella Baker was a firm believer in the right to protest, the value of organizing, and the responsibility to speak out. She had unwavering faith in young people, their moral clarity and steadfast courage, even in the face of danger. She helped nurture the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, encouraging them to find their voice and protect their autonomy and advise students for a democratic society. In the spirit of Ella Baker, I thought it might be appropriate to give our students some space to talk about the struggle that they are engaged in right now. So I would like to welcome to the stage Sophia, Leah, and Rahma.
Hello. First and foremost, we'd like to thank the BCRW and all of its faculty and staff for being such incredible allies and supporters of our organization throughout all of this. We could not have continued organizing without them. They have been here the whole time. We'd also like to thank them and everyone else who's part of this event for giving us the time and space to speak. It is especially important that we're here to speak in light of the Edward Said event that was canceled just 2 days ago. It was an online event, so it could not have harmed anyone. And when Palestinian people are not allowed to celebrate their personal legacies, at least we know we're part of a larger collective legacy we can celebrate together. And that's why it's very important that we're here today to speak, and we're very grateful to speak in honor of Ella Baker here today. So we are just some of the members of SJP and JVP who have been part of organizing this year. I am a Palestinian Puerto Rican who, yes, Palestinian Puerto Rican, yes, exactly. Just earlier today, I was re-listening to, something that Ella Baker said at a rally in Puerto Rico, 1974, and it touches me to know that when I'm not allowed to be part of my personal history, that there is a larger history that we are all a part of, and it gives me a lot of hope, and it gives me a lot of strength, the solidarity that we see. So when the news broke out October 7th, I at least knew that it was going to be just like every other time, the same media talking points, the same struggles, but I also knew that there was something distinctly different. There was something about the scale this time that was very, very different. And, a week before October 7th, SJP was not even really formally a club, but we were able to organize such an amazing event on October 12th, the protest. We had the largest turnout in Colombia history, and that was proof to an anger that holds both information and energy, in the words of Audre Lorde, and that inspired us to, the turnout that they inspired us to be able to propel further. And from the very first day, SJP was not able to work without our partners, JVP, and from the very beginning, there was proof that it had to only be in numbers that we could work together. It was only in collaboration that we could work to have anything be done.
I want to thank Rahma for speaking. My name is Leah. I'm a Jewish and Iranian Arab student at Barnard. Something I really want to speak to is the historical significance of the collaboration between JVP and SJP. It's something, yeah. It's something that is a very clear and deep show of our solidarity, and the strategic and horizontal alliance of SJP and JVP has made us stronger as we manifest the culture that we would like to create for ourselves in this movement on our campus and beyond, because the movement for Free Palestine to us is a movement that centers our interconnected struggles for a collective liberation. This is about all of our groups. However, our bold statement of solidarities and our bold shows of solidarity have been inconvenient and perplexing to many people on this campus, to many institutions on this campus and political forces that are represented on this campus, as our institution is a microcosm for the nation and the rest of the world. We've seen great amounts of hostility from subgroups of the campus, including powerful Zionist voices that have weaponized the fears of so many vulnerable students on this campus, as was mentioned, including Jewish students, to try and capitalize on our fear at this very precarious moment in time. It's really detrimental to the movement to see people capitalizing on the fear and the vulnerability, especially of Arab, Palestinian, Muslim, and other students of color, and seeing our own institution pitting minorities against one another. It's really such a struggle as a student to see my other fellow students being silenced on behalf of myself, when really all of us at this point should know that as long as any of our voices go unheard, the rest of us are also being silenced. However, as I said, our collaboration proved very strategic in the timeline of events that have happened since October 7th on this campus, and as you all know, a lot has happened. In the attempts to institutionally censor and silence us, as on November 12th, when both of our groups were suspended in the same breath, the university made it clear that if they want to suspend SJP, they have to suspend JVP too, because everything we do goes hand in hand and we stand together in unconditional solidarity.
Thank you, Leah. My name is Sophia. I'm also a member of SJP. I'm Cuban and Guatemalan, and and I'm also a history student here at Barnard. I'm very proud to be in the department that I am and to be witnessing history in the making, both abroad and here on campus. And I have told administration this before. I will remember where everyone stood during this time. I will be recording all of it, and I will be ensuring that that in the future the university doesn't co-opt our movement and claim that they have always supported us. After the suspension of SJP and JVP, as Premilla said, a coalition was formed called See You Apartheid Divest, because we had actually begun in 2016, SJP and JVP, to call for the university to divest from Israeli apartheid. We joined not just our two groups, but other groups around campus that were in solidarity with us and wanted to continue this solidarity, especially after our suspension, leading to us not being able to hold events or to even access funds. So it was really important for us to have these other groups be with us and take on that those spaces. We created a manifesto amongst the groups that were initially involved, and through democratic decision-making, we were able to publish this manifesto and get over 80 student groups to sign on to the manifesto. These are student groups from all different ethnicities, cultures, religious groups, sexual orientations that truly represent the student body at Columbia University and not what the administration has been pushing. It's been amazing to have all of these student groups with us and chanting, "We are all SJP, we are all JVP," because we truly believe that, again, like if any one group is silenced, we all feel silenced. So we need to stand together and uplift each other. Despite our suspension, we have continued our protests. We have continued calls for divestment. We have continued to hold sit-ins in all of the different colleges on this campus, in SIPA, in the medical school, in the journalism school, Barnard, and Columbia College. All of these colleges, because students around the university have recognized how important this is and how much support we have from the student body. We continue to protest as well because of the end to the permanent ceasefire today. We want to end to the temporary ceasefire. We want a permanent ceasefire because we know we have seen already how many Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank have been murdered by the Israeli Defense Forces, and we cannot stand by that. and we cannot allow our tuition as well to go towards the support and funding of this genocide.
So again, I just want to say thank you to everyone here, for the organizer of this event, for giving us a voice. And we again want to affirm how proud we are to be in the legacy of Ella Baker. And we see her as a mentor in her creation of the CNCC and about the importance of grassroots organizations. It is us who will create change, and our work is not done.
There is no better tribute to Ella Baker. I cannot tell you how grateful I am to the students on this campus. I am inspired every day by who they are and what they do. And in a moment of despair, they give me enormous hope about the kind of world that they will shape. So our intention today is to both draw lessons from the work of Ella Baker at this historical juncture, but also to honor and celebrate Barbara, my comrade and sister for almost 40 years, and what she has taught us about scholarship, activism, and a vision for a more just world. We invited a lot of very busy and important people here today. Every person we asked said yes immediately, I think because of their respect and admiration for Barbara's scholarship and activism. We also have a lot of really, and I know there's a lot of very important people in the audience too who are not up on stage, but thank you all for coming, for being here, for being a part of this conversation. And even if you're not star-studded, we are thrilled to have you here. So thank you all once again for joining us. We have a terrific day ahead of us. I look forward to great conversation. And we're going to end the day with a performance by the phenomenal Christiana Colon. Good music and a reception. So thanks again. And I'm going to invite up our first panel, Gina Dent, Robin Kelly, Deo Gore, and Mariam Kaba. Unfortunately, Barbara Smith could not be here, but let's give them a warm round of applause, please.